I mean, technically, if we're going to parse his language, he said Bryce is our quarterback, and on Sunday that was true. He is our quarterback. On Monday, he is not our quarterback.
Not so much.
Something happened. And look, I'm surprised by the news that the Panthers have benched number 1 overall pick from the 2023 draft, Bryce Young, only 2 games into his second season, 2 games into a new coaching staff, 2 games into an opportunity for him to prove the team right. Not only did they use the first overall pick in the draft on him, Devin, they traded up from number 9 to number 1, and in so doing, handed Caleb Williams to the Chicago Bears. I think that this has the fingerprints of ownership all over it because every decision the Panthers make does. And as of Sunday, Dave Canales says Bryce Young is our quarterback. Then he meets with David Tepper, and by Monday, he's not. So Tepper's out. That's the bottom line. Tepper's out on Bryce Young. Tepper's admitted that they screwed up. It's over. It's done. Somebody asked me yesterday, well, will they put him back on the field at some point? No, it's done. I mean, maybe if injury forces them to, but you don't yank this kid out after 2 games of his second season and then say, oh, he just needs, remember what they did with Zach Wilson? He just needs a break. Like, what the, no, it's done. It's done. And I got to give David Tepper credit because the worst thing you can do, Devin, when you made a mistake is double down. You acknowledge it, you admit it, and you move on. And that's what they're doing. And, what else could they do? They were horrible the first 2 weeks.
The hard thing is you're moving on to what? Like, Andy Dalton's now going to come in and fix this, and now you're going to say, hey, we're probably going to be the worst team in the NFL again. We'll get the number 1 pick overall. We still stink a lot of other places on this team. We're not good really at many positions at all. So we're going to bring in another number 1 quarterback because if you look at Caleb Williams, a generational talent, he goes to Chicago, and what does everybody say all offseason? This is the best situation number 1 quarterbacks ever come into. Oh, this is going to be so – they're going to make the playoffs. Shoot, they might shock people. They might be a contender. And you look, and it's still early, but you look at the game last week, Sunday night, it's hard. It's hard for Caleb Williams to go out there. It doesn't just happen. So now you take Bryce Young, who wasn't regarded the same way Caleb Williams was regarded coming out, and you put him on probably the worst roster in the NFL, and you're like, hey – You need to be able to get this done. I'm very interested. Was it Tepper who jumped in right away and say that's it? Or did this start in training camp? Did they already feel coming into the season that this didn't look good and they weren't sure about how this was going to work out? And as soon as, only 2 games in, they were like, yep, this is over with. Let's move on. Like, I just wonder when they got the feeling, was it Tepper, like you said? Because, again, we've heard that throughout the years. I've learned a lot from you in this situation. Yeah, that's a very bad decision right there. But also, you look right there, all the routes were going in the same spot. So I don't know. I get moving on. Bryce Young has not looked good. It hasn't been good at all. It goes back to, listen to my former teammate Tom Brady talk about all of these situations with these quarterbacks. He talked about offenses dumbing it down to fit the quarterbacks because they're coming out of college and they didn't do anything in college that, we do in the NFL. It was signals from the sideline. It wasn't really a playbook. It was all of that. They need time to sit, watch, and get better. So maybe it goes back to that. I don't think this puts Carolina in a better situation going forward, though. I get it. You move on. Whatever you think that, hey, we're going to get the number 1 pick. We're going to draft. I don't know whether it's Beck, whether it's Sanders. I don't know where they go. But, I think this is just the same cycle. You bring in another number 1 quarterback. Maybe he is better than Bryce Young. They're still not going to win with him. So I don't understand this decision at all for this organization.
Well, I mean, it's way too early to think about teams deliberately trying to lose. But if you want to position yourself to get the number 1 overall pick so you can draft another quarterback, and it doesn't matter because you're right. This isn't 2012 Andy Dalton. This is Andy Dalton, perpetual backup. Not that he can't play. He still has earned and deserves a spot on an NFL roster. But you're right. It's not suddenly going to be dramatically different. It's not like the Panthers like, oh, but watch out now. Andy Dalton's back. It's just that's not going to happen. They're at the bottom of the division with 2 teams that are 2-0 and the Buccaneers and the Saints, who have both looked great. The Falcons looked great last night. I mean, the Panthers are destined for the basement of the NFC South, barring some dramatic and unexpected change. you're right. They're rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic with this one. But this is just, I think, and there's two ways to look at it. It might have been the culmination of everything Dave Canales and his staff have seen since arriving. This guy just isn't good enough. That might be it. Or it might have been David Tepper, impulsive, multi-billionaire, an adult version of Veruca Salt. I want it now. And he got it in his head the same way he got it in his head early last year that Bryce Young was the guy. He got it in his head that he's not the guy. He's done. It's over. Okay, let's hear a little from the guy who said on Sunday, Bryce is our quarterback, and on Monday said, is not our quarterback, Dave Canales.
I'm sure you've all heard by now our decision to play Andy Dalton as we go into Las Vegas to play the Raiders. Sitting Bryce down here, after yesterday, just went home, watched the film, had some conversations with coaches, with Dan Brandt. So had to gather a lot of information through this morning and made that decision after looking at it that this is the best decision for our group, for our team going forward. This is something after I watched the film, I looked at it, had a thought, started working on talking to the guys that we make decisions with. Certainly a lot of parties involved there. And ultimately this comes on me, and my number one responsibility is to help the Panthers win. And so this move, I believe, puts us in the best chance to do that this week. This is my decision. This is our football team. This is trying to win on a weekly basis. And while it's my decision, I gather information from the people that are critical to making these kind of decisions. But this is something that I felt like gives us our chance to take a step forward in our play style and to be able to compete this week against a really good Raiders team.
Funny how he made a point of saying after week one that he met with David Tepper, and I didn't hear him mention ownership at all, as he was saying it's my decision, and I talked to these different people. And that's part of the game. The owners want to be able to hide behind the curtain and pull the levers and press the buttons. And when the shit hits the fan, sorry, London, they want someone else to clean it up. And they don't want to be associated with that. They want it to be someone else's decision. But come on, we know how involved Tepper is with that team. It's okay to say it, Dave. We know it's not your decision ultimately. Or if it's your decision, you're making the decision that you think is smart, given that that's the decision you think the guy who writes your checks wants you to make.
So the question now is, who's in a worse situation, Bryce Young or Dave Canales, as you take this job and you go from, like you said, Sunday, this is your quarterback. Monday, it's not. Like, in your opinion, who's in a worse shape here?
That's a great question. And, you hear so many times when guys are considered for head coaching jobs, Devin, there's only 32 of these jobs. So they'll just take whatever job when their ship comes in. And it's a tough balance. Look at Ben Johnson. His ship came in. You never know that window is going to be open, but it's better to wait than, there's only 32 of these jobs. Yeah, but some of them shouldn't be. Some of these teams should maybe be relegated. And that's where Dave Canales finds himself. And look what he did to Frank Reich. I mean, really, when they fired Frank Reich last year and deliberately mispronounced his name, owner called him Reich. Like, come on, that's like the ultimate sign of disrespect. If you're a coach who has any options, you're not taking that job. So Canales, that's the only play. I don't remember anybody else offering him a job. I don't think he chose between the Panthers and the Seahawks. I don't think that happened. And this is where we are. So it's already off the rails for the Panthers, and it's not surprising. It really isn't. The question is, like you said, how's it going to get any better? It's not. They got 15 more games. At some point, and I say this only half jokingly, they did it in 2021 near the end of the year. They brought back Cam Newton because it filled the stadium and it was exciting.
Yep.
At some point, Cam Newton and Andy Dalton are the same age. I'd rather put Cam Newton out there. At least it would be more fun to watch.
I agree. And you see Cam Newton, he can still go out there and run and do different things. I don't know if he's still throwing the ball and all of that. But that's what I said. Like this, it just doesn't make sense for the young quarterback and Bryce Young. But most importantly, as an organization, it doesn't make sense. Like the reason Andy Dalton is there is to be a mentor, is to help Bryce Young get through some of these tough moments, not to go out there and play. again, like you just said, if I'm a Carolina Panther fan, you probably can't sell your tickets because I don't know who else would want them. But why would you want to go to the game and see the product they're now going to? Each time you went to the game before, it was like, there's this hope that one of these games we're going to see what Bryce Young offers. We're going to see it pull through. We're going to see something different. I'd rather have that hope than to go and say, hey, we beat somebody because Andy Dalton had a little bit of a flashback and looked good. And Andy Dalton's a good player. He's had a really good career, great dude, been around him. But I don't even want to turn on the TV. I don't know what we're going to do in our viewing room, because do we just turn that game off? Like, we don't want to see Andy Dalton and the Carolina Panthers go take the field. It's not it. I don't understand why you wouldn't let this guy be a mentor. He's known in the NFL as just a great dude to have leadership. Let him lead Bryce Young. See how much it helps him grow as a player. See where it takes you down the future. Even if you decide at the end of the year that you want to still move on and get another quarterback in the draft, do that. But why not still let Bryce Young go out there and play and get better? He's only had 2 games with this new offensive-minded head coach who's redirected Baker Mayfield's career, like all of that stuff. Just let him continue to play. There's no reason not to.
Andy Dalton is making $4 million this year to be the quarterback of the Panthers. And it's kind of like the quarterback semi-retirement gig where, yeah, I don't want to play. I'm getting paid good money to help the other guy get ready. Please stay healthy. Please stay on the field. And we got to take a break. But maybe at some level, maybe it's as simple as they benched Bryce Young because they were afraid he was going to get injured at some point. I doubt that they're that altruistic. But at some level, when you look at the clips we played, maybe they got him off the field for his own good. Because, that was the issue. He's too small. And I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is sometimes. And their argument was, well, he processes so fast. Not fast enough, and we've seen it. The experiment's over. I doubt we're going to see him again. Maybe he resurfaces in the future with a team that doesn't destroy quarterbacks. Maybe he gets a second life. Sometimes it takes 8 years. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 years. Maybe that's what will happen for Bryce Young. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.